Hello, everybody. Dr. Dan Miller, Historical Solutions LLC, episode 39. You're on the 250 River with Dr. Dan. Beautiful summer day here in northeast side of Indianapolis. We're going to be looking at 250 years ago, the week ending August 7th, 1775. This is the podcast for the top five from that particular week. I'm doing some beverages here. All right, here's to you. Hot day, cold beverage. Perfect combination. Let's jump right in. We're calling for women. We're calling for women who know how to spin, spinning women. We want them to come down to the corner of 9th and Market Streets in downtown Philadelphia 250 years ago today. We're not looking to bike ride. We're not looking to work out. We're not looking to slim down. We are looking for spinning women, women who know how to make fabric, who know how to sew, produce fabric hour after hour after hour. You can earn money for yourself. You can earn money for your family. You can make a difference for the public good because we need to promote American manufacturing. And in this case, the manufacturing of cloth, of textiles, if you're a woman from the city, from the country, and using their word, from the suburbs. Come on down to the corner of 9th and Market and find out how much you can earn to be a spinning woman 250 years ago today. 99% fact. 99% of what I just said is completely true 250 years ago. 1% fiction. Everybody's dead. Nobody's paying me a dime to sponsor episode 39. So let's get right into our top five. Starting out with number five, we've got an interesting set. Is this a quintet? Is that what this is? An interesting quintet for today's top five from the week ending August 7th, 1775. Oh, there's those locusts, those August locusts. Just like then was true for them, it's true for now. Some things are eternal. Let's start with a 70-year-old man who is swinging from the end of a rope. One quick thing. If you want the full entry, I encourage you to go to my website, historicalsolutions.com. Look under Americanism Redux on the right-hand side of the front page, and you'll see the full written entry for today's episode and today's set of stories. 70-year-old man is swinging dead at the end of a hanging rope. He's been executed by a kind of a trial, by a kind of a judicial process. He is, now I'm going to maybe misname this, but bear with me, Maharaja Nadakumar. The Maharaja Nadakumar. He's an elderly tax collector, the chief tax collector from western province of the British colony of India. Bengal, to be specific, is where his area of responsibility was. It's a shadowy business that, by the way, is still in dispute, still under debate, all the way down to the year 2025 in terms of Indian history. It appears that the British Governor General, Warren Hastings, manipulated and intervened and drove and pushed this process to its outcome of death by hanging of this tax collector. Got on the wrong side of the Governor General. The Governor General was on the wrong side of some intra-Indian family disputes. There's vengeance, there's intrigue, there's dark bargaining and the dark arts behind closed doors. And it results 250 years ago in the execution of this guy under some very, very problematic circumstances. Makes you think in terms of it could be Sam Adams, it could be John Adams, it could be John Hancock, George Washington, or any of our colonial rights leaders that we've been looking at in Americanism Redux, but it's not. It's this elderly man in India, British India, colonial India, 250 years ago. What was true there that wasn't true in the American colonies of North America? What was true in the American colonies of North America that wasn't true in the British colony of India? These are two areas that share a lot in common as the sites of British imperialism, and we need to pay more attention to them as kind of dual track experiences to reveal a lot about one another. Let's move on to number 4, if I can find the wonderful graphic. I did. It's number 4. And we're going to be looking at a Yale College student, a young big man on campus named David. And David has an idea. He thinks that there's going to be a war, and he thinks that the idea he's got could be very useful in a war. Young man, a lot of knowledge, a lot of ambition, and a lot of taste for innovation. That's David Bushnell. And the thing that he invents, or is sketched out to invent, is a submersible, a craft that can go underwater and be guided by one guy inside with a bomb that can then go up to the subsurface hull of a wooden vessel of whatever size and plant a bomb on the hull and then have it detonate from a remote location. On demand or on command. That's his idea. We'll of course know it as the submarine. Nobody knew it as that then, but that's David Bushnell's idea for what he thinks would be very effective in what seems to be a war that's breaking out all around them. So he's looking for anybody now who can give him the time of day and a cup of ale or a cup of coffee to let him share his idea and possibly get some funding for that. In our days of artificial intelligence and drones and everything else, this is really interesting to see a college student from Yale coming up with something that he thinks would work in the emerging and unfolding war around him. Number 3 is where we are now, 250 years ago. I'm not going to tell you the whole thing here. It's too gruesome. If you want the full story, which I offer to you in some detail on the website, go there. But I'll tell you this. Thomas Brown, in a small town called New Richmond, South Carolina, Thomas Brown has told a group of 100 very angry people that he will not renounce his allegiance to the King of England. He will not say, I'm against the king, I'm against British rule, I'm against British authority. He will not do that. 100 people get really upset at him. He's on the front porch of a friend's house. He's staying with this friend at New Richmond, South Carolina. After some jawboning back and forth, about half the crowd melts away, but half does not. So you've got about 50 people who are not going away. Thomas Brown decides to pull out a sword and start slashing at the crowd as a way to kind of intimidate them, push them back, get them to leave too. They don't. And from behind him, somebody clips him in the back of the head with I don't know if it's a musket butt or what it is, but he goes out cold, and then things start to happen to Thomas Brown. He will survive this ordeal. He'll never quite be the same again. You can read the rest of the story on the website Americanism Redux along that right-hand side, like I told you. But Thomas Brown deserves our number 3 slot because of what he endured on that front porch after he got knocked out. So it takes us to number 2. And we're sticking a little bit with Thomas Brown here in a certain way. We're going to go up to New York. We're going to go up to the Provincial Assembly of New York. It's meeting in Albany, I think. It's in Albany. And the Provincial Assembly is the group that is pro-colonial rights. They've declared themselves in charge of New York. Okay? The British governor, the supporter of British rule, is kind of holed up, has very little authority. So the Provincial Assembly has taken on the authority and the specter of law and order for the colony of New York. And remember, they are pro-colonial rights. 250 years ago this week, ending August 7th, they passed a series of laws. And the laws are designed to punish people who refuse to renounce their loyalty to the king. In other words, people like Thomas Brown in South Carolina. So what's going to happen is 3 categories of these folks. Number 1, there's people who express sympathy for British rule. Number 2, and provide some support to other people like them. Number 2, there's people who provide information to British authorities, British soldiers, and so forth. And the number 3, there's people who actually pick up arms in conjunction with British soldiers and British authority. So all 3 categories of people are subject to discipline and punishment and all the rest. And so it takes two forms: one, a series of fines, and two, 3 months in jail if you're found guilty. And here's the kicker: any group on a local level that claims to have evidence of folks who fall into one of these three categories, any group can take it upon themselves to initiate the process of punishment. Now, they're trying to kind of channel and maybe control some of this stuff so that it doesn't get to the point of a Thomas Brown incident. But you tell me, how much faith are you going to have that this kind of a process will be followed to the letter? If I'm a person who supports British rule, I'm not going to put a lot of faith in that. But that remains to be seen. 250 years ago, August 7th, 1775. That's the ruling, or that's the law that's been passed in the colony of New York by the New York Provincial Assembly. And this takes us to number one. Number one is a name we've heard before, but we're going to put three things to the same name: George Washington. He's the commanding general of the new Continental Army in a semicircle that's surrounded the British that are holed up in Boston now, right? So he's got 11,000, 12,000, 14,000 guys in this new Continental Army that he's in charge of. He's going to do three things. And I have no idea what that was. If you picked up a scream. He's going to do three things. Number one, he's going to announce there's no more plunder. If you go on a mission, a military operation that's been planned and designed and executed, you are not allowed to steal things from that mission. It's not going to be your property. You turn it over to your officer and you go on about your day. But we're not in the business of organized theft and robbery, so no plunder. Number two, this is private. Number two, he finds out that there's almost no gunpowder left. There's none. And a witness says that when he found out, Washington fell silent for 30 minutes. That's a heck of a long time. Can you imagine 30 minutes sorting through in his head? Oh my God, what are we going to do? There's no powder. So he takes it upon himself to initiate a one-on-one private face-to-face meeting with the governor of Massachusetts. He says it's too important to entrust to any other means other than this. I've got to meet privately with the governor and say, you have to get us gunpowder ASAP. So that's what he's doing 250 years ago right now, ending August 7th. Third and finally in this little trio of Washington, he's writing a letter to the president. It's spelled president, but John Hancock is the presiding officer, the presiding chair over the Second Continental Congress. So he's really a president in that way. He's just running the meeting. So Washington writes a letter and kind of a report, an accounting of what's been going on. And he shares this thing about stuff we've just talked about. He also talks about we've got to standardize. I've got units from different colonies. Everybody's got different rules. Everybody's got different numbers of soldiers, numbers of officers, processes of seniority, on and on and on. We have got to standardize. We don't have a ghost of a chance. We don't have gunpowder, so that's a gun issue, right? That's a weapons issue. But we also don't have any kind of organizational or administrative sense of this either. I don't know which is more important, which is more desperately needed. Gunpowder on the one hand, that's clear. We all understand that. But administration, we got to get this thing in the same kind of boxes or something. We're supposed to be a union. We're supposed to be together. If we don't do that, we're done. He doesn't have a solution. He just proposes to Hancock, I really want the Continental Congress to take this on. We've got to get to a better position than we are now. So that's the third thing. And that wraps up our top five. So what's the big idea, Dan? Here's what I'm going to tell you, and I don't know you're going to hear this a lot of other places. what I just laid out for you on the number one level there, those three things, you're seeing in real time a presidency emerge. The guy who will ultimately be elected president in 1789 under the constitutional government, this is what, 14 years later, he's starting to behave in ways that will be presidential-like 14 years into the future. That private meeting with the governor of Massachusetts, that's a kind of an executive privilege. This business of we've got to standardize everything across horizontal, the organization horizontally, so that we're unified. It's almost a department to department to department kind of thing. There's a presidential administration type of feel to that. You're already seeing him, before anybody knows anything about it, the Constitution and all, you're seeing him begin to use behaviors that in the future he's going to come back to as precedents or as useful similarities and just effective ways of conducting himself from a presidential level. It's already starting to happen now before anybody even knows anything about a president anywhere. That's the big idea. One other thing, and I'll let you go. Hang on. I gotta sip this. Just give me a sec. It's hot. Something happened this week. I wrote about this, I think, somewhere, but I feel like in early August, 250 years ago, something was starting to happen. A degree of severity, of inner and internal violence, and inner and internal vengeance to some degree. Pro-colonial, anti-loyalist, whatever you want to call it, something started to really gear up in early August of 1775. That's why you've got Thomas Brown enduring what he endured. That's why you've got the New York Provincial Assembly passing a law like they passed, and that's why you've got, and I haven't mentioned this until now, a Christian minister named Jacob Duché in Philadelphia who writes a letter to Washington this week, 250 years ago, and in there he says, I understand the need for strength and armed power as to where we are now, but I really, really pray we can step back, because we don't want to have this keep getting worse. We don't want to get into the point where this gets really ugly. My warmest affections to you, dear General Jacob Duché. I kind of wonder, this isn't just a toss-off type of letter. I wonder if Duché is a guy picking up the same kind of feeling in his own world that I'm picking up now, 250 years after his world. Something was happening, beginning to happen in early August of 1775, 250 years ago. I'm Dr. Dan Miller. I appreciate you being here. Hope you get a chance to sip some cool beverages, some cool liquids on your own. I'll let you get back, and I'll see you next week for episode 40, for Pete's sakes. Meanwhile, have a great week. Have a great weekend coming up, and I'll look forward to talking to you soon. Bye-bye.